Team USA. Durant was the best player on the current USA roster and the MVP of the World Championship in 2010. His decision comes less than a week after Paul George went down to a vicious leg injury. Here's Durant's statement. This was an extremely difficult decision as I take great pride in representing our country. I know that I owe it to my USA basketball teammates to be totally invested in the experience. After going through training camp with USAB, I realized I could not fulfill my responsibilities to the team from both a time and energy standpoint. I need to take a step back, take some time away both mentally and physically in order to prepare for the upcoming NBA season. Stephen A., we'll start with you. What do you make of the decision?
Well, first of all, I think it was the right decision by Kevin Durant. I don't think anybody can deny that, and I say that with nothing but profound respect for Coach Mike Krzyzewski, along with Managing Director for Team USA Basketball, Mr. Jerry Colangelo, a man I've admired for many, many years. I think they've done a phenomenal job in resurrecting basketball globally, you know, in terms of the United States participation in Olympic competition. But in the end, the bottom line is that injury to Paul George more than a week ago, about a week ago or so, was just devastating, and it was incredibly scary. And if you're Kevin Durant, you've got a future to think about, not just in terms of your playing career, but your obligations to the team that's paying you in excess of $85 million. That would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. How on earth FIBA has managed to, you know, essentially ostracize teams or prohibit them from having the ability to keep their players from participating in Olympic competition is beyond me, because when the player gets hurt, it's still on their books to have to play these athletes. And in the United States of America, I don't care what anybody says. I said this yesterday on my radio show. I'm going to say it again, Skip. I've got to tell you, when you look at it, certainly there's a level of patriotism that we have. We all know that, particularly in these trying times. We know what time it is. But when you look at other nations, for example, with the World Cup or what have you, it just reaches another level with them. You lose in the United States of America, people are disgusted with you. You lose in other countries in their respective sports. Sometimes people have gotten shot. I mean, it's just on a different level. And so for me, when I look at participation, particularly on the basketball level, do people in the United States care? Sure, when you lose, but when you're winning, it's not that big of a deal. And in the end, they value the NBA season more than they value Olympic competition. Therefore, the obligation and the onus that's on the shoulders of the athlete needs to be towards them as opposed to USA Basketball. I don't blame Kevin Durant one bit. I don't want to say I applaud his decision because you certainly don't want to applaud something like this. But nevertheless, it was necessary because it's a scary proposition. And to be quite honest with you, the only thing I have a problem with here, Skip, is that I think Derrick Rose should have left first before Kevin Durant even thought about it, because Derrick Rose is the one that's only played 10 games in the last 2 years.
You said that a couple of weeks ago. So you're a patriotic man. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Does the patriot in you have any misgiving about by far the best player on Team USA basically leaving this team high and dry in the 11th hour?
Good question, Skip. The 11th hour is what I have a problem with, not him leaving. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm going to go a step further than you wanted to go. I'm going to applaud Kevin Durant for making a very difficult decision for him. And Stephen A., I don't know what was in his heart of hearts. I don't know what was in his psyche after last Friday night when he had to stand over poor Paul George and look at the broken bone protruding through Paul George's skin. That would shake anybody up to see a compound fracture like that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't know if that was the tipping point here. But you know what? I want to be cold-blooded about this. It did give Kevin the excuse I think he was looking for all along to say, I'm out. He needed to be out. He needed to save himself from himself. Stephen A. Smith, you know this. Over the last 3 years in the NBA, no player has played more combined regular season and playoff minutes than this man, Kevin Durant. I'm here to suggest, believe it or not, he's still only 25 years of age. No 25-year-old, you can say this is hyperbole, but I don't think it is. No 25-year-old in the history of the world has played more basketball than this man has played to date. Because, Stephen A., remember the off-season commercials, the early Nike commercials he did in the van touring the country looking for pickup games? This is the ultimate gym rat. And for those who want to blame him for not being patriotic, just remember, in 2010, his breakout summer, he was the MVP of the World Championships for Team USA in Istanbul. Remember that? In 2012, he led our gold medal winning team in London at the Olympics in scoring and in minutes played. So he served his country and served it well. Now it's about winning championships. I think he knows in his heart of hearts, after what happened in the overtime, that Game 6 loss at home to my San Antonio Spurs when Kevin went scoreless, there's still a lot of work to be done, and the window is starting to close in Oklahoma City. I don't know if it'll reopen for Kevin if he goes home to Washington, as LeBron went home to Cleveland. I don't know that, but it's time to focus on what matters the most. And I don't want to, look, I'm very patriotic, as you well know, too. But it doesn't make me prouder of my country that we send our best NBA players over to, quote-unquote, nuke the world. Because I know we have the best basketball in the world. I know it. I get to see it on a nightly basis from, what is it, November through June. I get to see it. So, look, I love it when they win. I don't take it that hard when they blew it in 2004 to Argentina. You remember the Larry Brown coach team? Yeah. And why Larry kept LeBron and Melo on the bench, that's a whole other story. But again,
no sense.
Did I want to jump out the window when they lost? No. I know we have the greatest basketball in the world. You can talk about Argentina and Spain and Croatia, and God bless them all. We have the best basketball, and I don't need Kevin to go prove it again for us. I'll be fine. And I think our team with, Anthony Davis and Steph Curry and James Harden, I can go on, I think we'll be okay. It'll be close, but can we beat Spain? I still think we can beat Spain, and I'll be just fine if we don't. Life will go on in America, and maybe we can re-up and send better players the next time. But in this case, I look at Kevin, and he needs to rest. Isn't that fair to say? He just needs to rest that body.
It is fair to say, Skip, because in 4 of the last 5 years, Kevin Durant has logged over 3,000 minutes each season. And on top of it all, he's not, since his second year in the league, has he averaged less than 38 minutes per game. That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
But I also would go a step further by saying this, Skip. I'm of the mindset that anybody that's under a max contract is not somebody that should be participating in Olympic competition.
I agree.
And the reason why I feel that way is because FIBA isn't willing to pick up the tab in the event that these guys get hurt. The team is still left holding the bag. And you can't convince me that teams are okay with it. They just have to say they are, because in a court of public relations, they would lose. And so that's incumbent upon us to take the pressure off of NBA teams acting like they would be wrong and unpatriotic for not wanting to take their prime investment and throw it into Olympic competition and endanger their investment. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Our second-tier players can win a gold medal.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
They can.
And let me ask you this. Do you think the Oklahoma City Thunder fans are okay with this morning?
Totally.
Thank you.
Totally.
Next question.
Yeah, we'll leave it at there. You guys mentioned the 11th hour. Team USA's first FIBA World Cup game, August 30th. Let's go to the NFL. We had a